Great. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. And thank you, David and Laura and Stephen and everybody here at Street Fight for putting together this conference. It's always so much fun to get together with the local gang. It's like a little band of pirates, all of us running around trying to reinvent stuff in the local market. We must be crazy because local's easy, right? Mobile's easy, local's easy. Anybody can do it. I thought before I jump into some of the eBay stuff, it's always fun to hear a little bit about a journey and along the lines of it's just easy, so let's just do it. Talk a little bit about our journey and then talk a little bit about what's going on at eBay and PayPal and this transformation, and then talk about some of the things, the products that we're launching in the marketplace with respect to demand generation at the POS. The timing of this conference is actually very interesting. Anybody else going up to NRF yesterday or today? Yeah? National Retailer Federation going on up at Javits. Huge show. So there's a lot going on in New York around retail and payments and demand generation. Start things off, I know that Perry's here. Many people have walked through the halls of MapQuest. I was one of them. I was the GM over there prior to coming aboard what was then called U-Locate Communications. And I saw my first GPS color screen phone, and it hit me like a lightning bolt. This is it. This is going to change the world. Consumer consumption would gravitate to the portable device. Location was a game changer. You could contextualize content in a manner never before possible. And monetization would go well beyond what you were doing on the desktop. Even way back in 2004, you could see what was going on in Japan and Australia and other areas where they're leveraging the phone as a payment device. Well, it should happen overnight, but it didn't. I put this slide up here. These are a number of things that we did at U-Locate and then where, all before the iPhone launched. Yep, we tried a lot of things. We tried pet trackers, dog trackers, buddy finders, asset tracking, you name it, geo, photo stuff. A lot of these things actually went on to be, in some cases, big, interesting companies like you could say like an Instagram. Wow, that's pretty cool. Use your phone, share it, social, all that kind of stuff. But when you're trying to do these things way back when, before really on feature phones, using J2ME and Symbian and all these esoteric languages, it was very, very difficult. And the consumer couldn't get over the hump. So we tried very hard, learned a lot of things, made a lot of mistakes. This was our first version of Wear, our consumer application. It was actually pretty cool. Anybody remember this phone? Anybody have one of these? It's a nice little phone. Probably didn't do a lot of applications, playing around with a lot of applications on it. It was pretty slow. It was a J2ME phone. It was hard to get applications onto the phone. But at long last, as we all know, the iPhone came. Now, this was the first iPhone. The first iPhone was really just a browser. It didn't really have the App Store. It wasn't until later that Apple sequestered and said, you know what? This browser stuff isn't going to work. But we do have this thing called iTunes, and we can launch an application store within iTunes. And arguably, I would say that's why, because they kind of retrofit an application strategy into an existing piece of software, that's why some would argue that the application download experience and management of content on Apple actually is subpar, but it's better than anything else out there. So we put up with it. So we caught a little bit of momentum, and we recognized that this local and hyper-local stuff was really great. We were getting about 3-4 million active uniques monthly for Wear, our consumer app, but we couldn't create the reach. We couldn't create a breadth of audience that was required to really monetize at a hyper-local level because we target ourselves right out of an audience. We began monetizing our consumer application through search and display, leveraging third-party ad networks such as Quattro and a bunch of other folks. But really, the ads were out of context. You know, they just weren't right for a local experience. So we built our own monetization platform so that our consumers who hated our advertisements would actually find the advertisements of interest, and we could actually start to make a little bit of money. As we faced the problem of reach, we said, why don't we open up that monetization experience and create an ad network? But we created an ad network not to create a mobile ad network. We created an ad network to facilitate reach so that then suddenly we could become relevant to small businesses so that we could target users around them with some form of scale. The ad network grew like wildfire. It just took off, and it resonated so well with our consumers and with small merchants. We did this also through a lot of partnerships with many of the companies in this room, and we quickly recognized that this connecting people with places is very, very important. It's also really, really hard, because how do you acquire enough information about a consumer to build a logical connection between them and a particular place? We built up a data sciences team, a big data team, and we created all kinds of tech. I literally had to park a food truck outside of the MIT Media Lab because we were offering $70,000 for the machine learning PhDs, where Google was offering $130,000. We're based in Boston. But we had good food, a good idea, and a great team, and we were growing fast. And so we were able to do that and able to instrument a lot of interesting capabilities at the platform level that we leveraged in the ad network and on our consumer application. It worked. Pretty quickly, we had roughly 120,000 SMBs leveraging our platform to acquire consumers around their place of business. We continued to iterate and riff on our platform and data, leveraging third-party data to make the advertisements more engaging. So things like overlaying CDC data or flight delay data, things which are pretty commonplace now, but this was, going back a couple of years, was pretty hard. It's particularly pretty hard to do when you're leveraging a full-scale lat long with 3 meter accuracy. So you're dealing with 5 digits after the point on your lat and long, and you've got to overlay third-party data, and you've got to deliver that ad in sub 30 millisecond speed. Very, very difficult. Very few ad networks are capable of doing that today in mobile, but we did that. Now, transitioning a little bit over to BigCo, to eBay. All the companies woke up to what was going on. We were struggling a little bit. We were now profitable and growing very, very rapidly, roughly 130, 140 people, and iterating and recognized that really mobile advertising, hyperlocal advertising, was really a proxy for mobile commerce, right? That this, while we were making money on a CPM basis and in some cases on a performance basis as well, that proxy, where if you looked at the marketplace, which is today estimated to be around roughly $5 billion for mobile advertising, paled by comparison to mobile payments and what was going to happen there. And if we could use this technology and capability that we had, but switch the business model so that we could participate in the contextual commerce that we were creating, wow, now we would enter a $1 trillion marketplace. And it's clear that this is where the market was going. But we needed a couple of things to do that. Number one, we needed big data. We had some data coming in off the network, off our consumer apps and stuff that we licensed, but we didn't have the one piece of data that we really wanted. We wanted payment history. We wanted previous purchase history. Search retargeting stuff, good data, but nothing trumps purchase history. And when you marry purchase history with location data, you know who somebody was, what they bought, where they bought it, when they bought it. That can drive your relevancy modeling well beyond anything previously capable before. So we started talking to a whole bunch of folks. And at the same time, over at eBay and PayPal, they were waking up to mobile and saying, holy cow, look what's going on. All of our users are gravitating to the portable device to utilize our existing capabilities. We need to double down in this space. And at eBay, they were also seeing the engagement factor on mobile grow by leaps and bounds. That now it wasn't displacing what was going on the desktop, but it was just another connection point to increase velocity. eBay is a partner-oriented company where they facilitated something that goes way back to the Mesopotamian era of trade, putting buyers and sellers together by the creation of a marketplace. And their role in the ecosystem, our role in the ecosystem, is to help both merchants and consumers. Now that sounds pretty straightforward, but it's actually kind of different from what's going on out there with a lot of others, where a lot of people are trying to make it a one-sided market, where they're the seller and they aggregate an audience and they become the buyer, thereby displacing the existing retail infrastructure. eBay has a very different perspective on it, that we're a partner-oriented company and we're here to help the retailers. And they could see the beginnings of this disruptive movement already with mobile and what it was doing to the retail partnerships. Around that time, eBay had acquired Skype way back when. Great company, growing like leaps and bounds, had absolutely zero to do with their existing business. So they divested it. and they're sitting on a pile of cash. And they're hearing from all of their retail partners, wow, what are you guys going to do to help? We need fulfillment partners. We need some of this mobile thing, this tablet stuff. Oh my God, we can barely figure out, the desktop, and now we've got all of these problems. This payment stuff is going crazy. What are you guys going to do to help? So they're hearing this and hearing this again and again, both from small merchants as well as large merchants. It became a consistent story that the traditional shopping model had become nonlinear. The way that people, consumers, engaged with content, researched, and purchased was changing dramatically and continues to change dramatically, largely because of the multiple screens, the capability of consumers not just to walk into a store, but walk into a store with a phone, do some showrooming. They're on a subway, they're scanning a QR code, they're at their desktop, they're doing some deep purchase consideration. The purchase funnel had become the purchase pretzel, and nobody really knew how to deal with this, including eBay. So they said, what are we going to do? Well, this wasn't just a disruption point, it also became a real opportunity. PayPal had always been online only and growing like leaps and bounds in online. There was really no need to go into the offline payments world. But what happened was the consumers were going all over the place. Tablets, mobile phones, online, everywhere. So in order to be relevant and keep up with that purchase pretzel, PayPal had to go into the offline payments world. We announced yesterday, my boss is up at NRF, Don Kingsborough. We've got 23 of the big box retailers now on board with our payment system, and we're growing rapidly, not just with the big, large retailers, but also with the small and medium-sized merchants with a variety of payment solutions. And the reason is because A, our merchants needed us to do this, but B, it opened up a huge opportunity. Mobile, while being a threat to retail, created an enormous opportunity for eBay and PayPal to go and participate in that offline commerce in a meaningful manner so that we could be with the consumer and with the merchant throughout that purchase pretzel journey. But they needed a few things, a few instruments, a few tools in the shed that they didn't have. So over the course of roughly 18 months, the company spent roughly $3 billion through a series of acquisitions, the largest of which was GSI Commerce. GSI has a number of assets under their umbrella, including fulfillment capabilities. They're a massive storefront provider for a lot of the e-commerce guys. They also bought some smaller companies like Red Laser and Milo. Milo is a real-time inventory feed so that, excuse me, I'm on the tail end of that flu virus thing that's been going around. Everybody know Milo? Do I need to explain Milo? Everybody get it? This is a local audience. I figure pretty much everybody gets Milo. FigCard, another payment system where acquired us and has sequentially acquired a bunch of other companies, including things like Card.io and a couple acquisitions over in Europe. But this acquisition frenzy was really done in order to beef up the arsenal with tool sets to help retailers combat omnichannel commerce. Flash forward to present. So a company buys, call it 8, 9 different companies around the globe. Pretty tough to start to integrate this stuff, right? Now we've got all of these tools. What are we going to do with them? And it was pretty fun in the early days with things like Red Laser and Milo, where we were trying to riff together our solutions and figure out what we could create for our merchants. This is an example of Milo and PayPal with Mobile Express Checkout. And what it does is effectively we take a piece of inventory in store. In this case, it's with Best Buy. We merchandise that piece of inventory, that product, in the form of an advertisement, and we drive the consumer to a landing page where they can purchase that product from that landing page, go into store to pick up, have it delivered to home. Now, the interesting thing here, it sounds pretty straightforward, but when you think about how hard it is to know if something is in stock, number one, because nothing is worse than going to a store to buy something and it's actually not in stock. And number two, making that item relevant to the consumer. So think through if you're going through a large purchase consideration like a mountain bike, right? It takes a long time. That's like an $800 to $1,400 purchase price. You might go try some things, talk to friends, look online. It could take you a couple of months to figure out which mountain bike you're going to buy, but eventually you do buy it. Now, what you don't buy, because you just dropped $1,400, is the Camelback, right? You never buy the Camelback when you buy the mountain bike because you're like, oh my God, I just spent $1,400. There's absolutely no way I'm going to spend another $70 on a Camelback. What am I going to do? I'll stick the water bottle in a little thing. But you know what? Everybody buys the Camelback, right? So we now know who you are, where you were, and what you purchased, this mountain bike. Well, it makes a ton of sense for us to merchandise that Camelback to you for a re-engagement campaign. Another example was Sears. Same type of idea where we're driving users to Sears stores, fueling in-store purchase. If you're a retailer, as we all know, you want people to come to your store. You don't want them to go online. Your best shot with your customers, bring them into your store because that's your palace. Your basket size increases because you're really good at merchandising. Your staff hopefully is very well trained and can work with the consumer to answer all types of questions, hopefully, to create a more meaningful experience. Get them into the store. You would much rather have them come to the store than just jump online. Online purchases tend to be much more singular and direct and quick. Offline purchases are much more engaged. So again, an example of leveraging real-time inventory with location and mobile to facilitate commerce. But there are multiple ways to engage consumers and in mobile. And many people in this room are doing a lot of these things today. Certainly coupons, discounts, things like that. A lot of that going on in mobile right now. But most of it, for the most part, still feels a lot like online affiliate marketing. And the back-end systems used for tracking really haven't changed that much. There's a tremendous opportunity here for disruption, and some very cool companies like a SnipSnap and some others are jumping into the space to do some very creative things. Product awareness and messaging, same old thing. This is an interesting point. I was with Dick's yesterday, and we were talking about where the state of the market is today between what should they be doing with mobile. Should they be leveraging it for product awareness? Is it really time to drive into commerce? Well, it's a little bit of both. And this year, I believe, in 2013, we're going to see that transition occur from product awareness and messaging much more into commerce so that you truly can measure what's going on at the point of sale and close the loop on that transaction. Go back to the merchant and say, this is what we did. This is how it worked. And thereby allowing yourself to participate, not just on a CPM basis, but participate in the actual transaction. Another example of something, Q4 was a fun time for us. We're finally getting our mobile wallets synced, linked up in the cloud across multiple platforms. And so we did some experimentation with something we currently call merchant-specific balance. Sounds pretty straightforward. What we were doing with Home Depot and a few others is effectively just allowing them an opportunity to geofence some of their stores or other locations, depending upon what they wanted to do, and drop money into a consumer's wallet. So we'll put up a banner ad and say, hey, $10 off purchases over 50 or more. Click here. So consumer clicks on the banner, takes you to a landing page, save to PayPal wallet. Next time you go into the Home Depot, that $10 comes off automatically. Seamless, frictionless, easy. The results, I'm so encouraged by this. I mean, everybody's like, yeah, of course, we do this already. Everybody's doing this. But it's actually, it took us a little longer than we would have liked, but we're really pleased with the results. We had on a little sort of sample campaign, roughly 33,000 saves, translating into roughly $500,000 in TPV. That's real demand generation, where we're taking a consumer, and this, by the way, was within, I think, a 48-hour time period. So I said, you have to go into the store now. And that was impressive. This is also both online and mobile. So we're getting people off their couch, out of their desk, and driving them to a Home Depot store to make a purchase. And again, the basket size was roughly $47, so a lot bigger than you might see online. Geofencing. This is some stuff that we've worked on forever. Many, many, many people have done this. We started working on geofencing way back in 2005 and are pretty good at how we understand not just where a consumer is and to deliver an advertisement and offer to that particular place, but maybe it might be other barriers around a particular place, depending on time. So you time part commuters And you might want to target subway and rail for grocery, because they're going to get off of that subway and rail and more than likely go to grocery and make a purchase. But there are a couple other things going on in the ecosystem too. It's not just about mobile, it's about payments, right? That gigantic thing in the store called the point of sale system is being disrupted entirely. And this, for small merchants, I believe, is a tremendous opportunity. That merchant has to pay a lot of money just to be able to accept credit cards, traditionally, right? And that cash register sits there and does nothing, while the merchant, particularly sole proprietors, typically on their tablet or their mobile phone, checking out their Twitter feed, seeing what's going on. A lot of people have some pretty interesting solutions, hopefully, that they're looking at their dashboards to better understand who their audience is. All of that is now moving into the point of sale system. And they can do this quickly, inexpensively, and change their business model. There we go. This is an example of something that PayPal has now. We call it Check-in, and Check-in offers a personalized service for that small merchant. So leveraging PayPal here, which is a little bit like Square, if you guys have seen. Anybody seen PayPal here? You guys seen this yet? We launched about 6 months ago. It's done very well. It's worldwide launch, Japan, UK, North America. But allowing the merchant to engage with their consumers, see who they are, and then also understand what they purchased before, giving them additional tool sets to then go back out to their loyal audience to drive repeat engagement with them. And we're doing this with our own products, but we're also doing it with a partnership program. It's called the EPOS partnership. So looking for lots of partners to help us in this field. Most of the partners today have been folks like Shopkeep and Erply and Leaf and others that have a tablet-based solution, both soft and hard. But increasingly, we're going to look for additional partnerships to help us drive our demand generation strategy. Those are my slides. I'm being signaled from the back of the room that I have less than 5 minutes. I think that means I probably have time for a couple of questions if anybody has anything. No? No questions? Yeah.
Hi, you mentioned earlier on that you had some key partners and you had a lot of them that enabled you to be successful. Who were those core partners that you worked with?
Well, I'm looking around the room here. I can see Newstar, YP.com, Marchex, AT&T Mobility Side, Sprint, Qualcomm, BlackBerry, Apple. The Apple guys actually called us up. This is a funny story. You know, about the time right before the second iPhone launched, we were pretty tired. We tried a lot of different things. And the Apple guys called us up and said, hey, everybody loves you guys, because they were talking to the carriers and other folks in the ecosystem. We're going to launch a new phone. We'd love it if you guys would build an app. I'm like, Apple, come on. It just so happened we were probably the only ones that did that. But we had a 23-year-old developer that was a real fanboy. And we said, here's the SDK. We got some UI cycles for you. Go out and build something. And he built something great. And when that phone launched on a Friday in June, we started getting 100 activations a second. It was like nothing we'd ever seen before. It was incredible. Really changed everything. That was an example of an ecosystem partnership. And the others, too. You know, really, local is so hard. It's not a game, I think, that anyone can go in and win alone. You have to have lots and lots and lots of partners. How many people in the audience are on the data side of local? Or leverage the data side of local? How hard is that? I mean, it's impossible. I've been playing around with that stuff for over a dozen years. It doesn't get any easier. You have to have partners to make this stuff work, both on the data side, the platform side, as well as on the distribution side. Anybody else? Well, thank you very much, and thank you again, David. Thanks, Street Fight. I'll be around for at least the first half of the day. Would love to meet as many of you guys as possible.